All right. Now I'm recording. It's okay. That was so far was just all a review, right?
Yeah.
So be as specific as you can be. And let's review what we've talked about in the past. Make sure you have all the 6 keys of a winning team in place, right? What's the first one of the keys? The first key of a winning team is what?
Is schedule and run a team meeting.
Leadership. Yeah. First one is leadership. So basically, what does that say when you're the owner of a business? The first most important thing in a team, you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Schedule and run a team meeting. Well, we don't have a team yet, but we'll have one. So we have to learn how to run a wiffle, which we did last week.
Mm-hmm. Common goal.
And then be sure that you remember to tell everybody you know who has a business that you know a business coach. And that would be me, by the way. Okay, so the 6 steps, and where are we talking about the 6 steps to building a business? So you always start with the foundation, right? The mastery level. Master the fundamentals. Get your hands wrapped around what it is to have a business and run it. Get into predictable cash flow. That's the niche level, right? Where you start differentiating yourself from everybody else. Finally, leverage. That's where you start to get efficiency, right? Hard to be efficient as a one-man band. Not impossible, just difficult. But when you have a little bit of leverage, you can build a team around you. And the team is the key to making sure you can actually have a business that can work without you. Ultimately, if you really want a well-oiled machine, you want to get more out than you actually put in. That's what synergy is all about. And results, it's your personal growth. It's like, what do you want out of your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want massive results, that's it. The keys to business success. The absolute key is leverage, right? Leverage is what makes the difference, is how you get more with less, okay? You basically divide to multiply. If you recall, when we talked about the 5 ways in the previous session, the 5 ways formula, about, leads, conversion rate, average transaction, number of transactions, and profit margin as the 5 ways. Well, if you break them down into the 5 ways, you can figure out more easily how to take action on each one of them. That's how you divide to then multiply your results. So you divide the input, right? And then you work on each one individually, and that's how you multiply your results. So here we are talking about today's topic, right? Today's topic is all about systems. The key to leverage. It's all about systems, and it's another acronym. And guess what it means? Guess what it stands for? Saving yourself time, energy, and money. That's what systems are for. How do you save yourself time, energy, and money? So there are really 4 big categories that we can impact in any business, right?
Mm-hmm.
People. Right? So it might start with just you, but people and training them is how you can get leverage in business. Okay? Systems and technology. Systems doesn't have to mean technology. We're going to talk about a few different non-technical systems in a few minutes, but it might mean technology. Nowadays, there's hardly anything you can't do on your smartphone, an iPad, a PC. That if you want to try to studiously avoid using paper, you probably could do it. Delivery and distribution. It's basically comes down to the ultimate way to create repeatable events, right? That's what business is all about. How do I, you talked about people who are consultants. When they're consultants, what do? They basically take the same stuff that they learn how to do and teach other people to do it, and they do it over and over and over again, right? So delivery and distribution. It's like, why is McDonald's a large successful company? Here comes George now.
I would say consistent in the delivery.
Yeah, because essentially they did everything they possibly could. Morning, George. They did everything they possibly could in order to make the systems as foolproof as possible, right? They don't want you to have to think about what you're doing too much. They want you to be able to just, do it and repeat it easily, right? They get leverage into the system. So they train people and they train them again. And then they know how all the products you need, we don't have to reinvent it. We don't have to think about it. With the packaging, the way the stuff is delivered to the store, all those things are thought through and they're practiced until their delivery and distribution is just automated, right? That's what made Walmart successful. Is Walmart worked harder and harder and harder every single year, every single day on being able to be as efficient to drive costs out of their business. And then ultimately testing and measuring. If you're going to do something new, if you're going to try something different, test it out. Isn't that interesting? It might work, but let's make sure we know what we're getting, right? So that's why we would test and measure anything we do. It's why a lot of people do marketing efforts and then they complain later it didn't work.
Right.
Right? They didn't test it. They didn't measure it. They didn't do it as a small scale and figure out what does the customer want, right? That's one of the things I find small business owners kind of neglect doing. Listen to the customer. Ask them what they need. Ask them what they want, right? They're liable to tell you. Sometimes what they do is they vote with their feet, right? They walk away and they go somewhere else. So, but if you talk to them, engage with them and ask them, they're liable to tell you what it is they need. And if you deliver it, they're yours. Okay. So here are the 6 keys to a winning team. So far, George, all we did was
Hey guys, good morning. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. You're making me dizzy.
I am so sorry, guys. I'm gonna have to take this call like on the road because I have a delivery scheduled down the shore, and this is the only time window that was available.
All right, let's. I'm going to keep going. You have to be, if you're going to be getting in the car and driving, you got to make sure you're in safe driving mode. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna put the phone down.
I'm recording this. All right. So I will not have anybody getting hurt. All right.
Sure, I understand. I just didn't want to miss it. I'm sorry.
You can watch it. You can watch it later. If the recording is on.
Sure. I'm not gonna watch it. I'm just gonna listen to you.
All right. Good.
I'm not gonna look.
Driving mode. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. 6 keys to a winning team. Number 1, a strong leader, and that's you. Right. Number 2, common goals. Right. Everybody has to be working towards the same goal. Otherwise, what happens? Everybody's kind of headed off in their own direction and you get no benefit of the team, right? Everybody needs to understand what the rules of the game are, right? When I say rules, yes, you may do this. You have authority to do this much. You can spend this much money. This is how we treat customers. This is our vision. This is our mission. This is our culture, right? We work within these parameters. When we do it this way, everybody's working towards the same goal, following the same rules. Create an action plan, right? Always be willing to share that action plan with your teammates, team members, right? We don't have them yet, but we need to have them, right? Especially so George doesn't have to go down the shore to accept the delivery. Action plans are really important, and too often there's no action plan at all. And if there is an action plan, it lives in a space between the owner's ears, right? It hasn't been communicated to everybody on the team. Support risk-taking, right? When you get a team and you get people and they learn what to do and they're trained in what they have to do, if they think that they can make a change, make something work for a client, a customer, a patient, support them going out within the rules, but support them taking the initiative to go do that, right? That gives them some power to help you satisfy your customers. And it's really important. Be inclusive and involved. There's really nothing better than taking employees, bringing them along on your journey, let them live for a couple days in your shoes. They understand what you're faced with and what you're going through, right? Right, here's an org chart. Now, I know George can't see this right now. This is an org chart. And if you go back and you look at this video, this org chart is something that everybody should do. And I'm going to I'm going to suggest that you do it now. And you do it twice. You do it 2 times. You do 2 versions of this org chart. The first version of this org chart is how it exists right now. And guess whose name is going to be in all these boxes? It's either going to be George, 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 or it's going to be Imani, 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 right? But eventually, and that's the second version of what you might do on this org chart, do an org chart for what does this look like in 2 or 3 or 5 years from now, right? Do you want to have people on board? So this is where you get to think about what you want the business to be like, right? And you could say that most businesses have these 3 major categories of things that they have to deal with. One of them that's called marketing, right? It might be sales, it might be advertising, it might be marketing, it might be all that rolled together. The other is the operations, right? It's production, delivery, it's the actual work that you are in business to do, right?
Mhm.
Another one is to track your numbers, to take care of your bookkeeping, your reporting, your taxes, everything you need to do to be compliant, okay? So if you imagine, and I've done this with clients before, so they can keep an org chart and they can look back. It does a lot of things. One of the things it does, it helps frame for you what your business is going to look like a few years down the road. And the other thing it helps you do is bring people along on the journey. Let them understand that, gee, if they work with you, they could become what?
That's
Marketing manager. They could become the director of operations. They could become, vice president someday in helping you grow your business, right? It might take your business getting to be where it does $1 million, but that's okay if somebody understands that there's a possibility of growth for me if I stay with this company. I might want to work and get paid for it and be happy, but ultimately, if I really contribute to this organization, maybe there's a role for me that's even bigger than what I have now, right? That's why these things are so important. But it always comes back to what you want, right? Building a business and doing it step by step, number 1. And we've talked about this before, vision. So what's the vision for Action Coach? World abundance for business-free education. What's my mission? My mission is to work with business owners and help them achieve their goals. A coach in every business, right? Culture, the 14 points of culture that I've shared with you guys. You have to have your own. You can lift them. You can lift all of them or some of them, the ones that are important to you, right? Your goals. What do you want to do? Simple one for right now might be, how much money do I want to make next quarter? Right? How much business do I want to do next quarter? Milestones. What's a key milestone? Well, a key milestone might be hiring an employee, right? Bringing somebody on board, training them so they can do a lot of work so I have more free time, right? A milestone would be that first employee. Another milestone might be hitting a certain sales target, right? If you could have such a thing as a big sale that you could say, gee, that's a customer that I really want to get, a client I really want to get. That could be another milestone, right? So milestones are things you want to look for. When those things are done, guess what? You can work on your organization. Build an organization. When you start to build an organization, I have templates for all these things. You need a position contract, right? You don't want to hire people without really being able to define what it is they're going to do. Why? Because number 1, you need to know that what you're paying them can help you add more than enough value to your business to make it make sense for you to pay them, right? Number 2, you want them to have clarity around what they're supposed to be doing. Anybody working for you should know very clearly what it would take for them to be successful in their job, right? KPI. KPI stands for key performance indicators, right? So the key performance indicators that a lot of companies want to, you tend to think about them in a, unfortunately, we tend to think about them as the trailing indicators, right? Number one key performance indicator is revenue, sales, income, right? And that is truly one of the most important key performance indicators, because you got obviously got to have money coming in, because money's going to be coming out. But other metrics might be your conversion rate, right? How many people you talk to and how many of them you turn into actual paying customers, right? So, gee, almost, 60% of the time when I talk to somebody, they turn into a paying customer. Okay. That might not sound like a lot, but if you do it right, you've done two things. You put enough people in the funnel, you converted them into customers, and now you know how much your conversion rate is. You know what you can work on, if it's worth it to improve it. There are lots and lots of ways to work on turning that conversion rate up a notch, including figuring out additional ways to talk to them, right? So you want to have how-to manuals. Lots of businesses, they call it SOP, or standard operating procedure. And it's just exactly like what somebody does, like a McDonald's, right? Where they have the French fry, what do they call it? The French fry university, right? They teach people how to do things as simple as making French fries, but they do it a very specific way.
Never heard of that.
So they can do it efficiently, and they can be very consistent, and the customer is going to get what they expect to get every time, right? So people have come to expect that. And for the most part, in most McDonald's restaurants, they're teenagers running the place, right? Teenagers making the French fries and the burgers and everything else. Not always, but you want this to have you want to have a standard operating procedure. Here's another benefit down the road of a standard operating procedure. Every time you bring a new employee on board, you've got standard procedures in order to help you train them, right? If you want to grow and expand, guess what you get to do? You get to expand that by bringing new people in, and all the work is done to get ready to train them and bring them up to speed. Creating pictures, videos, tapes, checklists. These are all key things to help you bring people on board, right? All right, so leverage. Once you have an org chart in place and you decide, hey, my first employee has to be somebody on the operations side, somebody to help me do the scheduling, or maybe you need to have somebody help you do all of the accepted deliveries or make phone calls, do admin stuff, keep everything in order for you. You have a job description. Write that position description and make sure that you understand what it is and your employee understands what it's all about, right? So people fill the position, know what their job is. And that sounds silly when you say it like that, but I have many times been in businesses where the owner thinks the job is this and the employee thinks their job is something different, because it was never written down, it was never explained to them. They just kept doing things people asked them to do, and they figured out that was their job. Think about who's responsible for what. Make sure people know what their responsibilities are. They also need to know what it takes for them to be successful, right? How much are they supposed to achieve each year? And how will we know that they're accountable for it? What metric will we share with them that says, oh, you did it. You did a great job. Thank you. You achieved what we asked you to do. Who do they report to? Well, they're going to report to the owner to start with. But ultimately, that business finished org chart might be several pages long, right? If you want to build a real business. Dividing the tasks and the responsibilities is a great start, right? Because it helps you become more efficient. It figures out how much time it really takes to get something done. Right? There's this unbelievable, axiom in business that the work expands to fill the time allowed. So if we don't put definition around it, then people will just take as long as they figure they have to get something done, right? Most position contracts and job descriptions will follow the same format. I have templates that you guys can use when you're ready to bring on some employees. You let me know. I have a description. Literally, you take the job description when you're about to hire somebody, that can be used to create the ad. When you interview people, you can use the same thing to ask questions of the prospective employees. When you hire them, you take those job descriptions and it becomes a position template. And then you have a simple agreement that people can sign when they're come on board, so they know what their responsibilities are. And that's the way to be like a real business, all right? Key performance indicators, right? Every job, every person should have some key performance indicators. And it's not meant to be complicated. It's not meant, but if you have somebody on board, you need to figure out a way to measure what it is that they're doing. It might be a little bit fuzzy around the edges, right? Some businesses can have real structure to them and some don't. But if you gave somebody a series of jobs to do, like calling clients, calling customers, taking notes, following up, sending out invoices, sending out the bill, whatever those things are, you need to be able to measure what it is you expect them to do and how they can know how well they're doing. So you got to have about 5 or 6. It could be more. It doesn't make sense to have 100, right? Things you really want to, it could be outcomes, it could be tasks. It could be the things that people have to measure in order to get where they want to get, right? In order for them to be able to say, yeah, I'm successful. I achieved what the boss wanted me to achieve today, right? And also think about what would it take for somebody to be compensated for doing above and beyond, right? Have you guys ever gotten bonuses in a job you had before?
Yeah.
So was it bonus? Did you appreciate the bonus?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So wouldn't everybody else appreciate the bonus if they got one?
Mhm.
Yeah. And should they get a bonus for just showing up?
No.
No, because showing up is a minimum requirement, right? So you got to show up. You got to follow the rules. You got to do what's asked of you. And then guess what? If you can do above and beyond, if you can do something extra, then you should be rewarded for that. And that's kind of what I mean about having them walk a mile in your shoes, because if they're helping you grow your business, right, that means they're becoming more and more important to you. And what do you want to do when somebody's really important to you in your business?
Keep them happy.
Keep them happy. You bet. Keep them happy. Let me see if I can find this thing. I took a picture the other day. I don't remember where I was exactly. I was waiting for something. Oh, it was about perks. It was about a job. It was a notice for hiring. We're hiring, right? Here were the perks. So this is the special. This is for hourly paid employees, but this is what they were advertising as the things that they were offering for their employees. Why? Because they know, just like they have to attract customers, right? They need to attract good employees. And it's harder and harder to get good employees. So these were the things: competitive pay, starting at $15 an hour plus tips. Well, $15 an hour in New Jersey is now minimum wage. So career development and growth. Oh, that's like being able to see yourself in a bigger job on the org chart down the road if you do well. Number 2, training and development opportunities. In other words, they'll help you learn how to do more. Discounted college credit program, flexible hours, fun and family environment. Some of these have no dollar figure attached to them at all, right? Free private counseling sessions, a recognition program, which means a warm pat on the back and a firm handshake for the most part. Discounts, paid time off, and healthcare. Some things you will be able to offer, some things you won't. But basically what these companies now have to do is they have to create quite a list of things to try to encourage people to come join them, right? So back to KPI, you need some metric, some measurement for every position. It's not good enough to say, well, you know what, gee, it's really hard to measure that. It might seem like it's hard to measure, But in reality, if you put your mind to it, you can figure out a way, and you need to figure out a way to measure what it takes to be successful in a position, right? It might be a little bit difficult to measure, but if you give some thought to it, we'll come up with a way, right? Everybody needs to do a review. Most small business owners don't do this, but they do if they're working with me. Every year, at least every year, you sit down and do a performance review. Doesn't have to be really involved, doesn't take as much time as you might think. Can't be afraid to do it. But if somebody's working out really well, you need to tell them and encourage them. We talked about this the other day, but what's the best kind of feedback to give somebody? Right? Positive feedback. And what's the worst kind of feedback to give somebody? No feedback at all. No feedback at all, right? So a review help you. Now, I have had, and I'll never mention any names, but I've had clients and I've asked them about their employees, and they'll say, oh, so-and-so, really not very good. And, oh, they just, I put up with them, but oh, my, they just don't get everything done. And they just, they're kind of a pain to deal with them. Well, how long have they been with you? Well, 10 years.
Yeah, like, why are they still there?
What are you waiting for? Right? And who hired them, by the way? Who hired them? You did, right? So fix it or change it. Because ultimately, where are you in that hierarchy of power? If you're the owner, you're at the top, you hired them and you're keeping them. So you should be training them and telling them what they expect and giving them a review so they have a chance to improve it. Or else let them go somewhere else, right? KPIs for every department or every position. Again, it doesn't have to be fancy, doesn't have to be sophisticated, doesn't have to be complicated, but there should be a way that people can see that they're doing a great job. And if they're not doing a great job, that kind of feedback can help them get to where they need to go. Right? Now, here's the key thing. And George, I think this is kind of important for you too. And everybody has to create a way to understand exactly what it is that they're delivering and figure out a good systemized way to deliver it. If you do it that, it doesn't have to be technology. It could be as simple as a checklist and a clipboard, right? These are the things we need to know. This is what I need to have, right? So if somebody is on the phone getting a new client ready to start before their first meeting with George for the decorating project, what are all the things that George would love to know before he first sits down with them? Fill it in, then hand it to George, right? Anything that can be done that takes that off of your plate. Just like you're saying, okay, well, we did the order. We ordered the product's being delivered. Somebody got to be there to accept the delivery, fine. But it shouldn't be George, right?
That was so nice.
If we
I've been working like a dog. Like, honestly, like, I'm so tired. So
I'm going to just hit the mute button for a minute there on George. All right. So, right, you develop that system so you can not be chaotically busy, right? Because chaos is not good for anybody in any stretch of the imagination. It means you can make mistakes. It means the customer may be not satisfied. It means you have to go back again and do something different and fix something that was incorrect, right? So humanize only the exceptions. Anything that's routine, 80% of what you do should be routine, should be subject to a checklist, right? And then only the 20% of it or so that you have to deal with, you deal with on an exception basis, right? How to systematize the routine and humanize only the exceptions, right? Usually, the biggest job in creating these systems is make a list of all the routine tasks. For every job you have, make a list. A lot of reasons. We don't want to miss anything. So we want to get all the capture all the big tasks that we have to do to make sure we didn't miss anything, right? Number two, we don't want two people doing the same thing. Waste of time and effort. Number three, we don't want anybody doing anything that doesn't need to be done. And that sounds silly, but it happens. I can guarantee you it happens in virtually every business. They're doing things that they don't actually need to do. Maybe they used to need to do it, but they don't need to do it anymore, right? And the only way you capture this is by looking through it and then deciding, oh, okay, it's better if we give this job to that person and you don't do this anymore, right? This is exactly what the owner needs to do, because the owners built their business by the bootstraps, doing what? Everything. And eventually the hardest job for business owners is to let go of stuff to give it to other people to do. You can do it, or the people in those positions can do it, but you still need to be in on the process, because there's nothing worse than doing something really well that you don't need to do at all, right? Break those tasks down. Are they daily? Are they weekly? Are they by customer, by client, by patient, right? There are certain things that have to be done to keep you compliant, to file your taxes, to do all the routine things, to take care of your banking, to pay your bills. Some of those things can be done every month, right? Some things need to be done every day. And there's a best day to do everything. What do they say is one of the best days to do marketing?
I don't know.
It probably depends on the business, but for the most part, they say Tuesday and Wednesday are some of the best days to do marketing. Supermarkets and stores, they'll send out their marketing on Tuesdays and Wednesdays that start on Saturday, right? But I don't know for your businesses what the best day to do marketing is. Guess how you'd figure it out?
How?
Testing and measuring.
What and measuring?
Testing. Test it. Try it.
Testing.
Test it. Test it out. Give it a try. If you test it out, you find out what works. So systematize the daily stuff from the bottom up, right?
Mm-hmm.
You work from the bottom up, and you can, that way you can get at the tasks that people have to do. And if there's something they don't need to do, you can eliminate it. The how-to, right? The standard operating procedures. There can be a lot of useful tools that you can use. It can be a simple flow chart. If this happens, yes or no? Yes, okay, do this. No, okay, do this. Can be kind of as simple as that. Can be a simple document, right? Can be a picture. It's a very interesting thing that we do in some of the workshops that I do, live workshops, and I'm thinking I'm going to send you guys this. It's the coffee exercise. How to make a cup of coffee, how to make a pot of coffee. And we just think about this in terms of an organization that has an office, that has people, they all come to the same place, and somebody comes in brand new and they don't know where anything is. You got to tell them everything. You sit over here, that's your desk. You need a computer, it's there. You need a phone, it's here. How about a coffee? Where do you get a coffee from? Oh, let's show you. Oh, by the way, we have a rule. If you take the last of the coffee, make a new pot. Oh, how do I do that? You have to teach them, right? So they have to learn when they're fitting into a new place, how to do everything. So it kind of starts from the bottom and works its way up, right? You can do videos. You can create a little video off your iPhone to express what you need to express, right? To teach somebody something new. You can do it without the video. You can do it just audio only. You can use pictures. Pictures worth 1,000 words. Or sometimes it's systems, right? We'll train you. Could be QuickBooks. Could be Excel. Doesn't have to be fancy, right? Just like if somebody's going to spend money on your behalf, they need to know the rules. They need to maybe have a form to fill out, an expense report. They need to put the receipts in an envelope. Maybe you want to give them a business credit card to use. Well, they need to know the rules. They still need the receipts, have it by email, but you need to capture all that information. All right. Business leverage, the handout, something else I'm going to send you. The 4 ways chart. Okay, so these were the things we've talked about This is a whole list of strategies within each of those 4 ways, right? So people, delivery and distribution, testing and measuring, systems and technology, right? Because it all starts with those 4 categories. And basically, those are the major components of your business in a nutshell. So what are we doing that we do really well? Okay. I know you guys do some stuff well, really well. Imani, you give a phenomenal massage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Align people's mind, body, spirit. George, I think you've got a group of super satisfied clients or customers, right? So that's what you do really well. What are we doing or not doing that we need to do, or what are we doing that we could improve upon, right? So what is that? Make that list. Okay, what things are we doing that we do really well? What things are we doing, but we should improve on them? Or maybe I need to do more of this, I just don't have the time. This is not the kind of thing that I want to spend my time doing. I need people to help me do that. So that list B is a key thing to help you create your job description for finding that next person you want to have work for you. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, it could be anything like, you know, marketing, advertising, operations, scheduling, could be a whole list of things, receiving orders down at the shore, whatever it is, right? Here's the other one. We talked about this, but it's so important. What's on the list that we're not doing, but we should be doing? Right? And you might think, gee, everything just keeps coming to me and I'm always doing, I have plenty to do. But what happens in a lot of cases that people get busy and something starts to slip through the cracks, right? And they don't do it anymore. Maybe they used to do it and it used to work, but they got so busy, they kind of lost track of it. I'm sure there are things that you are doing and not doing well, things you are doing and need to do better, things you are really good at. There are also things that you're not doing, and there are things that you shouldn't do at all, right? This might sound tedious, but it's really not, and it's really important, but just take a piece of paper. I'm going to send you a time log too. Just record what you're doing. You have to do it every hour, every half hour. Just write down, this is what I'm doing. So I'm driving down to the shore. I'm headed off to a doctor's appointment. That's okay, that's fine. That's as much as you need to put down, right? But for every hour, I'm working on advertising. I'm doing a design. I'm actually doing a massage. Later on, another massage, right? But if you're tracking what you're doing, basically in every working day, will help you come to grips with what you really want to do, how you want to do more of that and less of the other stuff. And you'll identify the things that are eating up your time, keeping you from being productive, right? Once you've recorded that for a week or two, we're gonna start seeing what's eating your time up, okay? Now you know that. Now you can sit down and say, well, how do I either create a system to do this for me, or delegate this, or hire somebody to delegate it to? Cool.
Sounds good.
Oh. Flying today, flying through this, but complete an org chart. Okay, so complete an org chart. It doesn't have to be on the system. You can do it in PowerPoint, really easy, but you can do it on a piece of paper by drawing a bunch of boxes and connecting up with lines. And the simplest, I'll send you an org chart sample too. The simplest way to do this is to think of it as the numbers, right? The marketing, the operations, right? And at the top of that is the ownership, or you. And in every box right now might be you. But ultimately, we're going to figure out where's the first box you fill in with somebody's name other than yours. right? And it doesn't have to be a full-time employee. It can be a part-time employee. It could be an outside service. It could be a lot of things that we can do to make things easier. But it really comes down to freeing up some of your time to be able to do the stuff you really want to do. Create a template position contract. The template I'm going to share with you. Once we figure out what that org chart looks like and who the first person is you want to try to bring in, all right, then you can create that position contract for them. Create that list of all those routine tasks and classifications that have to be done that you really wish you didn't have to do, that somebody else could do it for you. True enough? If you did that, you would all of a sudden, right, relieve a lot of the burden of yourself, not be quite so tired, be able to think, have more time to work on your business, not just in it. Keep that time log, right? Keep that time log for a period of time. Let's just say for the next 2 weeks, right?
Mhm.
Be able to help you figure out where you could best focus your effort in terms of getting some help or unburdening yourself from tasks. Because even in the first session that we first started talking about, guys, we got to work on your business, not just in it, right? On it is where you're doing the planning, where you're doing the vision part. In it is where you're doing the stuff that has to get done every day, but doesn't necessarily rise to your level of experience. Okay?
Mhm.
And quick review. Words can inspire and thoughts can provoke, but only action brings you closer to your dreams. Okay? Wow. Any questions, guys?
No.
All right. George, Imani has to go to a doctor's appointment at 9 o'clock. You are on the way to the Jersey Shore. I flew through everything. I have a few things that I'm going to send to you guys. I'm going to send you a sample of that 4 ways, a time log sheet, and a sample org chart. And that's your homework. And I will record this. I did record it. I'll do what I've done in the past is I'll take that link and I'll send the link to you guys so you can watch this, and I'll send it along with the stuff that I'm sending you.
Okay.
All right, guys.
Sounds great.
All right. Have a great day. Okay.
Will do. You too.
Get it, George.
It's kind of.
Now I can hear you. I think you're not
Yeah.
saying.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you later.